Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Johns Hopkins School of Education Doctor of Philosophy and Education virtual webinar. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions. Also here with me, I have my colleague from the Office of Admissions, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Tanya McMillan. I am an admissions coordinator here at the School of Education.
We also have presenting today two current PhD students, Zara Smith and Juan Cortez, Vice Dean of Academic Affairs and Program Lead, Dr. Hunter Gelbach, and Assistant Professor, Dr. Leanie John. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. Also, please take a second to see if your mic is on mute right now. Please have your mic on mute and video off at all times during the presentation. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question in the chat box and Dr. Gelbach, Dr. John, Tanya, and I will read and answer your questions. Next, I would like to share the agenda for today's presentation. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Gelbach and Dr. John will go over details of the Doctor of Philosophy program. We also have two current PhD students sharing their experience here at the School of Education. Lastly, we will cover admissions requirements and leave the floor open for questions at the end. And to start, we are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. And lastly, SOE has collaborative partnerships with Urban Teachers and Teach for America. For school enrollment, we have approximately 2,465 students and offer more than 30 graduate programs, which includes doctoral, master's, and graduate certificate programs. We have a strong network of over 22,000 SOE alums. Moving on to faculty presenters. Dr. Hunter Gelbach is the Program Lead and Vice Dean of Academic Affairs at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. He joined SOE in 2019, received his PhD at Stanford University. His research focuses on improving the social and motivational context of schools and received the Spencer Foundation Mid-Career Award in 2016. Also presenting today, we have Dr. Leanie John, Assistant Professor at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Dr. John received her PhD at Ohio State University. Her research focus is early childhood care and education, family characteristics, and neighborhood, and was the ARA SRCD Early Career Fellow in Early Child Education and Development in 2017. And before we go over program details, I would like to cover a frequently asked question. What is the difference between the EDD and the PhD? And to quickly summarize what's on this chart, our PhD program is a full-time, approximately 4 to 5 year program requiring residency in Baltimore, Maryland. Typically, the program is designed for those who are pursuing research positions or continuing research and teaching at the college or university level. There's also a strong focus towards on researching and contributing new information to the field of education. On the other hand, our EDD program is a part-time online program. Completion time is approximately 3 to 4 years, and this program is designed for individuals who are practitioners within their fields. Most EDD programs are focused on preparing students for administrative leadership roles. The EDD program also includes, but of course not limited to, leadership in higher educational institutions, school districts, nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and private sector positions. And typically EDD students choose to narrow their studies to something directly applicable to their current job or a role they're aspiring to obtain. And at this time, I will hand the floor over to Dr. Gelbach and Dr. John to discuss details of the PhD program at the Johns Hopkins School of Education.
Great, thanks so much. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. It's very helpful introduction. I think in a lot of ways, the easiest way to sort of think about the PhD and what we're trying to train folks to do is it's all about research. And to put sort of a little more nuance into that, as you sort of see the overall description up on the screen, I think the way we think about it internally is really kind of about impact. As you, and actually we can probably hit on the program objective slide if that's easy enough. So we are really interested in you having theoretically interesting work and sort of contributing to a discipline and what the theory, how the theories in that discipline evolve, but it's also incredibly about real world impact. And you know, I think that's a difference as you're looking around at different PhD programs. Some are totally happy to have you doing research for research's sake, and that's got an important place. But I guess you could think of it as us being kind of greedy at Hopkins. We want both. We want both theoretically interesting and real world impact. So the training that you're going to get, whether it's a faculty position, a research scientist position, research institutes, is really going to be geared toward this idea of impact in two different ways, both in terms of being sort of theoretically interesting and also having real world impact. Like, we want you out in positions in the real world that'll allow you to use research as a lever to make a real difference. And if we nudge on to the next slide, I think that the one other thing that I might say, just in terms of helping folks who are on the call here get a feel for, like, is this the right place for me, is that so much of this is about fit. And so as you think about your own research focus, a big thing that I think is so helpful to do as you're sort of combing over the website is figuring out, like, okay, of the faculty and the current students, who's going to be the right, are there enough people here who are kind of the right fit for me? And so for the most part, you'll see that our faculty in particular, and then students kind of following suit, are looking at and interested in issues of educational policy. Think about the social context within which learning takes place, whether it's school-based learning or sort of outside of school. And then we do have a core strand. This is sort of where I fit in more on the educational psychology and learning sciences end of things. And so as you're sort of looking through and trying to decide and ascertain if Hopkins is the right place for you, definitely would recommend looking up the faculty members and figuring out, is there one or more faculty members whose research really aligns pretty well with yours. And with that, I will let Leni talk a little bit about the program features.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So the PhD program is designed to be a 4-year program, but students sometimes take 5th year. So students have fully funded fellowship up to 4 years, and this includes tuition coverage and the stipend. Students are also provided with individual health, vision, and dental insurance. For the 5th year, students typically work with an advisor or other faculty to secure funding. As part of the training, students will be also required to complete 2 teaching assistantships. So we require a minimum of 72 credits of doctoral level coursework. A master's degree is required, and students may petition for up to 12 credits of prior master's level graduate coursework to be transferred towards those 72 credit requirements. Next slide, please. Yep. Students are required to take a minimum of 18 credit hours towards research methods and statistics courses, 15 core seminar credit hours, a minimum of 21 credit hours on electives or faculty-directed readings, and 18 hours on dissertation research. The methods and statistics courses we offer include a sequence of basic statistics, research landscape, and data workflow, or a wide range of advanced method and statistics. The core seminars include Science of Learning, which is based off learning sciences and learning theories, so Schools in Society and How Schools Work, which are based off sociology perspectives, social cultural perspectives, and educational policy. Next slide, please. And students are supposed to complete the comprehensive exam before the beginning of year 3. So our rising third-year students just completed it during this summer. Dissertation proposal defense is mostly completed during year 3 towards the end of spring semester or summer. And doctoral dissertation and oral defense are mostly completed by the end of year 4 or 5, depending on the pace of the students. Next slide, and I will turn this over to Hunter again.
Yeah, so we thought it would be helpful to kind of get a little bit more concrete about sort of what people are up to. And just bear in mind that although this is kind of a cross section, like if you don't see your thing here, you know, it's a small sample size, and make sure that you're paying more attention to kind of faculty interests on the website. But as I think you can see, like the couple of things that I would extract out from this slide as you look and see kind of the diversity of areas of interest of people, from sort of the resiliency effects of social networks, of pregnant teenagers, and how that maybe buffers the impact on their academic achievement, to looking at working conditions and teacher turnover, participation in urban league and sort of debate kinds of stuff. I think what you see here, like to me, what this slide really shows is that there's an incredible sort of methodological diversity and flexibility. So you've got a lot of big data set stuff going on here, some original data collection. I think, Leni can correct me if this seems unfair, but I think there's sort of a trend toward 3 paper dissertations, from like one long big book kind of dissertation. So I think there's, you know, we try and be pragmatic, and it seems like you're a lot better off getting 3 publications out of your dissertation work than a big long, you know, book-like thing that probably not much of anyone is going to read, if we're totally honest. And I think the other thing that I really hope you see sort of coming through in these different dissertation topics and studies are that the practical applications and practical implications, you know, are maybe not like right at the surface, but they're a rich theme throughout all of these. So it doesn't take a lot of connecting the dots to see how this research could implicate sort of policy or practice sorts of decisions. So hopefully those are some of the themes that are coming through for you as well. And as we shift on to sort of the next slide, you know, your dissertation sort of naturally leads into the question of like, well, what are people doing after that? And so these are some of the positions that our PhD alums have gone into, whether it's government, nonprofit research scientists. We've got actually one postdoc who's working right here at Hopkins, or 2 actually, I think, one in the School of Ed, one outside the School of Ed now. And then obviously academic positions are a pretty common career trajectory post-graduation as well. And with that, I think maybe we'll shift on to the next slide, and Leni and I will say just maybe a couple more things before we turn it over to the students. And so because this issue of fit is so important, we thought we'd sort of give you our contrasting views of like what really makes the Hopkins program distinctive and unique. And so I think this program is a really good fit for you if you're looking for an apprenticeship experience. That was kind of my number one. So it's a small program. It's pretty sort of centered around your work with your advisor. And so, that's a little different than some of the other programs out there, which are bigger, and maybe it's more of a cohort experience. And it's not that one is right or one is wrong, but that's kind of disproportionately the experience you're going to get here is sort of a smaller, more intimate experience. So that's my top one. The second one is you want to learn research approaches of the future. So there's a whole debate going on in a lot of strands of social science around this idea of the umbrella term being open science. And there are a lot of kind of new practices that are starting to take root in places like psychology. Medicine has been at it for a little bit longer, that add in a whole layer of methodological rigor. And I'll give an easy sort of shorthand way to think about at least one of the norms that's happening more and more. So I think I'll ask these questions rhetorically. I think we would all agree that like a good, rigorous researcher is going to thoroughly examine their data, right? We can all agree to that, I hope. And then similarly, we would all agree that a good researcher should not, flog their data so long and so hard that they get the answer that they want to hear. And so if we imagine those two things at opposite ends of the continuum, there's actually kind of a blurry line where you stop being thorough and rigorous and start beating your data until it screams out the answer that you want to hear. And so this is sort of an example of one of the things that open science has picked up on and instituted some norms and some practices to make sure that researchers don't cross over that blurry line. So you can do something called pre-registration, which is to publicly list out your hypotheses ahead of time, and then you're stuck to them. You gotta do the analyses that you said you were going to do in the pre-registration. Even if your results don't come out quite as you thought they would, you still have to report them. Your hands are tied in a really good and beneficial way. And so I think one of the things that makes Hopkins a great place to come is we are teaching you now these kinds of research approaches like pre-registration, like trying to emphasize replication studies more and more, that I think are going to be staples of the future. And so as you're sort of weighing your various options, I think that is something that you're going to get here. And I guess I would also say, these are like anything in academia, it's not without controversy. And so you will get sort of opposing points of view on this. I think many of our faculty are very excited about lots of this open science, these new practices, but not all. You'll find some skepticism too. And I think that's healthy and important. And then last thing that I think we do really well, and then I'll be quiet and kind of turn it over to Leni, is that we have a whole series of research practice partnerships. And I think this is a similar idea that's becoming sort of increasingly popular, is how do you get academics who sort of have their own set of priorities and goals that they're trying to accomplish with research, and practitioners who have a whole different set of priorities and things and goals they're trying to accomplish. And how do you make those partnerships work? And we've got a couple good examples of them at the school already. There's the Baltimore Educational Research Consortium, which is housed at Hopkins and a set of, I think, 10 other institutions of higher education in Maryland. And they've built up a really phenomenal database that can help like the school district, Baltimore City Public Schools, answer important questions that they need to know the answers to. And so that's one of a couple different examples and illustrations of these research practice partnerships, which I think from the standpoint of a doctoral student provide some really neat and unique ways to further your education. All right, Leni, that's it for me. You're up.
Okay, great. I think Hunter provided really great 3 points that you can all consider to examine your fit. So I will give you another examples here. So if you're looking for an interdisciplinary approach in education, I think this is the right place. I talked about our core seminars titles in the previous slide, but our core coursework provides perspectives from learning sciences, educational psychology, sociology, educational policy, and multicultural perspectives. So this sequence is really great for students to develop perspectives from multiple disciplines and how you can consider pros and cons of each discipline and how you can potentially combine them to develop your research questions. Also, interdisciplinary research is encouraged across the university as well. So there are a lot of opportunities for students to get involved in projects with faculty at other schools as well. So just as an example, I work with faculty at School of Medicine, School of Public Health, Engineering, and Nursing to develop my research questions on various research projects. So my students are involved in those projects as well. So generally, interdisciplinary research is encouraged at the university and School of Education. So there would be opportunities for students to get exposed to those work. Second stuff is the rigorous methodology training. That we have really nice in-house statistics sequence, which is good for students to learn some discipline-specific examples and data sets so that it's easier to apply to their own work. But we also have students taking courses from other departments or other schools so that they can get more diverse methodology trainings. And Hunter mentioned that we are small, so we have small cohorts, and because we have a small group cohort, the method training becomes more interactive and very personal. And third point is quite aligned with Hunter's third point. I just wanted to reiterate that we talk a lot about how to bridge between research, practice, and policy. So if you're interested in making impact on education practice or policy by bringing in research, this is a good place. We also have a lot of faculty doing this type of work, connecting between research and practice or research and policy, and taking the research practice partnership approach so students have an opportunity to work on those projects as well. Okay, I think I'm done here. Yeah, Hunter.
Yeah, I think we get to what probably most people are most interested in hearing about, which is from our student speakers. So I'll turn it over to Zyra now.
Hello, everyone. I'm assuming you can hear me. My name is Zyra Shea Smith. Most people just refer to me as Zyra. I'm entering my third year in the PhD program, and my research focus, as you can see, is on college access, especially in regards for minority and low-income students. I've just did my dissertation, my comprehensive exam, and excuse the noise, I apologize. I did my comprehensive exam this summer, and I am working on my dissertation proposal, and where I'm looking at how high school choice is related to college students, high school students' college outcomes. So I must say I love this program, but I'm kind of biased. I actually did my master's degree here, and it was a great experience. I got to form a great relationship with a couple of professors who actually encouraged me to continue on to my PhD. One thing I didn't know as I was going into this program and as I was exploring is the fact that it is very based on, as Hunter said, like real world impact, which was something I'm very big into. So as I was looking into programs, I used to work as a college advisor. And so my question is, why do we see low college going grades for minority and low income students? So very practical. And actually at trainings for my job, individuals from Burke, the Baltimore Education Research Consortium, which is a partnership between Hopkins and some other universities, they actually conducted some of my trainings. And so the fact that the data that is used to inform real world decisions comes from this school was very important to me. So on top of that, some other reasons, the fact that it's very open. I had a general idea of what I wanted to do, but the fact that I can work with different people and continuously learn different ways of looking at the same problem was really important to me. And then also, just to be very honest with you, the funding package was very important. I only looked at a small set of schools, and the fact that Hopkins had a package that allowed me to feel secure and stable as I go throughout this program is really important. So those are the reasons why I chose Hopkins, and I'm grateful that you're here, and I hope that you continue to give it consideration and hopefully join us in the fall.
Zaira, thanks so much. That was great. I want to offer one just like friendly amendment to what Zaira said though, when she said she loved Hopkins, but she's biased. I just want everyone to remember she's an objective scientist, and I'm quite sure that's just truth that she's speaking there. All right, so thanks so much. Let's turn things over to Juan, who can give us a perspective, a different perspective from a different set of research interests. Juan, take it away. Thanks.
Sure. Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Juan. I hope you can hear me.
Yep.
I just finished my first year in the program and going into my second year. And like Zaira, I'm also very enthusiastic about the program. Similar to Zaira, I'm also interested in having my research make an impact, which I think is a common theme among students and faculty at the institution. And that's one of the reasons why this program resonated with me. Prior to coming here, I worked in the public school system. So in a large suburban school system, in a research and evaluation office. So the practical lens has always been part of the work that I want to do. Tied to that, my research interests really deal with college readiness and access. So how are we preparing students to be ready for college? And then once students go to college, are they ready to face the rigorous curriculum they encounter? It turns out that there's a large proportion of students who aren't ready for college and have to take remedial coursework. So that's an area of interest for me, figuring out what the effect of remediation is on these students and their long-term prospects. Another thing that's really interesting for me, and this is from the K-12 public education system lens, are these systems called early warning indicators. So these are indicators that flag students early in their high school career as either on track or off track to graduate high school in a timely manner. In terms of reasons for choosing Johns Hopkins, I would add that for me, the apprenticeship model was key. The idea is that you learn about the craft of research by closely working with your advisor, and along your PhD trajectory, you are learning different aspects of what research means. Another thing that drew me to Johns Hopkins was the ability to tailor my experience based on my interests. So although my advisor isn't exactly working on something that is the exact same research interest as myself, the program allows me to tailor and to take coursework and then to explore my research area in depth. In terms of highlights at the school, I would say that one of the biggest highlights for me has been working in my advisor's lab group. Not only have I been able to contribute to my advisor's work, but I've also been able to work collaboratively with other PhD students in the lab group, which has allowed me to learn about their research, but also it has allowed me to get feedback about my own interests from them, which has been very valuable. I think that's all I have. Thank you so much, and I hope this information is helpful to all of you.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. That was a really great presentation. Now we're going to continue by going over the application requirements. Applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our website. Keep in mind there is an $80 application fee when you submit your application. You will also need an updated resume, personal statement, and that personal statement should not exceed more than 750 words. Please visit our website for additional information on the personal statement. In addition to the personal statement, a writing sample must be submitted, and this would be a sample of your most professional writing that demonstrates your analytical and critical writing skills. Moving on, you should plan on submitting 3 letters of recommendation. These letters should include at least the following: 2 submitted by faculty members who are familiar with your previous academic work, and 1 by a supervisor or administrator who has been in a position to evaluate your professional development. We need official GRE scores and official transcripts. So please keep in mind, we need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Again, this is from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. And lastly, an interview may be required. And one more thing to note is that there is a prerequisite for this program, a master's degree from a regionally or nationally accredited college or university. The application deadline is December 15, 2020. Please keep in mind, we need all supporting materials submitted by this date. There are a few additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process. If you are an international student, you must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score. And please note, if you hold qualifying degrees or have earned credits from institutions outside the US, you must submit your academic records and be evaluated by an accredited independent credential evaluation agency before you can be considered for admission to the PhD program. Additional information can definitely be found on our website. Again, please note all PhD students at SOE are eligible for a fellowship for up to 4 years. The fellowship includes a yearly stipend and will cover tuition and fees. The fellowship will also cover individual health, dental, and vision insurance. And lastly, you must be registered full-time and be in good academic standing every semester to continue to be eligible for the fellowship. And if you're interested in applying for financial aid, we strongly encourage you to apply financial aid when you start your application. Please visit our website for additional information on financial aid. And if you have any questions relating to your application, please contact Tanya McMillan. And any program-related questions, please contact Raven Mernavino, Dr. Hunter Gelbach, and Dr. Lene John. And this is their contact information on this slide. Thank you for attending the Doctor of Philosophy virtual webinar. At this time, Dr. Gelbach, Dr. John, Tanya, and I would like to open up the floor for questions. And please keep in mind, we'll be answering questions up until 4 p.m.
So it looks like we've already got a good slate of questions coming in through the chat. I will work my way from the top down through at least a couple, and maybe do some handing off on certain ones. So the first one is a thought that, you know, maybe the thing to do would be to start the EDD program since it's online, and then hopefully transition into the PhD program. Is that possible? I can't imagine that that's probably the strategy that makes the most sense. Simply because the goals of the two programs are so different, and the kind of training that you'd be getting from the outset at the EDD program, you know, is really, it's a little bit of a different kind of research than you'd be getting in the PhD program. So it might be technically possible, but I don't think it'd be what I would recommend. Lene, I don't know if you have different thoughts on that one.
Oh, no, I agree. I because of the different sequence of coursework and different ways of how programs are designed, it might be possible, as Hunter said, but yeah, it's not my recommendation as well.
I think the next question was just about the recording. I assume this will be made available later if people want to review it.
Dr. Gelbach, yes. So this webinar is being recorded, and I will definitely send this recording to everyone at least within 1 week after this event today.
And then the latter part of that same question was with respect to an interdisciplinary approach, are law courses available? And there's a great story about how Johns Hopkins Law School is ranked number 7 in the country, even though Johns Hopkins does not have a law school, just as a signal of name brand recognition. So I think it seems likely that law courses are probably not available around here. So that one I think would be a little tougher to pull off. Funding package. Zaira or Juan, do you want to share more about the funding package? I'm not sure if there was a particularly specific question, but maybe just more of the details, maybe a little bit about the travel funding as well.
Yeah, I can answer that question. I guess because I did bring it up as in being important to me. So the funding package, I believe we get 27,000 a year, which is not a lot, but it's actually more than some other schools that I've seen.
28, I gave you a raise.
Thank you, you did give us a raise. I wanted to get that number right, thank you. So that was really important to me because I was a professional. And so going back to school, I did lose I did take a pay decrease, but I don't have to pay out of pocket. Tuition is covered and I get money to live off of. So it allows me to just focus on school. On top of that, like many people, health insurance is really important to me. So the fact that dental, vision, and and general health care are covered, that's super important as well. And so that's the general package. And then on top of that, we get $800 a year to pay for conferences and things like that. And then there's also a great organization within the university that helps students apply for additional funding and grants. So I plan on doing that I'm considering doing that to pay for my 5th year. So the security that comes with funding, I think is spectacular at this school. And that was a major plus for me when considering.
Great, that's super helpful. Let me just follow up with one quick thing. So I know I just signed some paperwork for both of you to do a little extra work that I believe is for some extra pay. Do you have any sense among your cohort mates, like how common that is it's, there's a little less going on in the summer. And so I think a lot of people find additional sorts of research gigs, but is that common or pretty rare?
It's not uncommon. I know one student who works with a center throughout the school year, and she's done that for a couple of years. And I am working with my advisor on something. So finding some little gigs that, one, put a little bit of extra money in your pocket, but also give you a chance to work with your advisor to produce research and get published. Those are extra benefits as well.
Great, thanks so much.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please, Juan, go ahead.
Yeah, so on top of that, so I think a lot of students do find opportunities with their advisor, but I think there are also opportunities with other faculty as well that come up. And so students are able to get to know other faculty better and engage with them through these various opportunities that may pop up in the summer or throughout the school year. So not only is it a good way to get some extra money in your pocket, but also a good way to get to know other faculty.
Great, that's super helpful. The next couple questions are sort of around student faculty fit and the apprenticeship model and opportunities to publish. Lainey, do you want to tell us just a little, like if you could breathe some color into what working with you and your lab looks like and what students could expect out of that, and maybe particularly touch on the sort of publishing co-authorship, and I can add a little bit from my lab as well.
Yeah, sure. So my lab is well-being for early learning, but so my research interest is around early childhood education, and I'm particularly interested in teachers' well-being and students' social emotional development. So most of students in my lab does research around those topics, but it varies. Sometimes it doesn't perfectly fit with my research, but they have enough alignment to develop projects under my advising. So we really closely work together, and I have a lab with PhD students, master's students, and undergrad students. So we get together, we discuss on different topics. We, of course, develop papers together. So in terms of publication and co-authorship, yes, there are opportunities for students to publish and co-author with faculty, and that's the beauty of having this apprenticeship model. So I have students working with me, and I also pair students within the lab as well. So students are not alone. They also have peers to work on publications together under my advising. So there are those opportunities.
That's great. And I think probably works pretty similarly to my lab. I think the only thing maybe that I do is to just really explicitly try and have some publications that students are on that are kind of the whole lab, as well as some publications that don't have my name on it. So part of the apprenticeship idea is that students are increasingly doing more and more for themselves and by themselves. And so, you know, that just sets students out on a career trajectory, hopefully, where they have some really strong signals on their CV that they can do this all by themselves as well. All right, I think we've kind of covered most of those questions, and I see questions piling up faster than we can answer. Are application fee waivers offered for city year TFA alums? I don't know the answer to that.
I can answer that one, Hunter. This is Tanya. The answer is no, we don't waive the $80 application fee for city year or TFA alumni.
Great. And while you're right there, average GRE scores, do we have ranges on that, or is it a little too idiosyncratic to be able to provide that information?
For PhD, I don't have that information readily. I don't know if the program office would have that. If you guys would have that data, I can definitely follow back up with that query.
And one thing I do want to share that, you know, we don't have like a published range because the PhD faculty review committee, they are very committed to a holistic application review process. So we don't have like, you know, cutoff scores, but yes, we can kind of get back to you in regards to the average.
Great, thanks. And sort of in that same vein, is there consideration of waiving GRE scores for the upcoming application cycle? So, you know, we haven't had any PhD meetings in a while with the faculty since it's been summer. And certainly we're hoping that we'd be all back in person by now. So I think we will bring that up at the forthcoming meeting and try to get that figured out. But yeah, we'd have to get back to you on that because that is a decision that has not been made yet. Is there a path for working professionals who must work full time? Not really, honestly, at this point. Like, it is a full-time program, and you know, part of the reason you're getting a stipend is to make it possible to commit full-time to your studies. So you know, that question might signal that the EDD program is maybe the better fit. So if you sort of have further questions on that, you know, maybe you can reach out and get some information on the EDD program. How would I go about getting letters of recommendation from a faculty member if I haven't done the whole academic thing in a while? That's a little bit of an idiosyncratic question. I think you'd probably have to get some counseling, maybe from the admissions office, but maybe more from your kind of professional network. I think that's a tough one to give any generic advice about. So
I can answer that somewhat, Hunter.
Oh, sure, please go ahead.
Sure. Well, we will accept professional letters of recommendation if you're unable to obtain one from a faculty member, if it's been a while since you've been out of school or something of that nature. So I know we will accept professional letters, and it shouldn't be from a lateral colleague. It should be for someone that's in a superior position, so to speak. So that is an option.
Great. Man, I thought we were moving faster and there's 20 new messages. All right. Do any of the faculty work in school choice? Leni, I feel like David Steiner does tiptoes into that general direction, but I don't know about directly working on school choice.
I think Juan or Zaira, is Mark still working on school choice? I had the impression that Mark's research was around school choice before.
It was before. It's transitioned since then, so it's not centered on school choice, but I'm doing my dissertation. Part of it is based on school choice. So I would say that it's not like, it doesn't have to exactly line up. Just because he's not doing school choice doesn't mean that, or he's not doing it now, doesn't mean that he wouldn't be able to help you and guide you if that is the topic of interest for you.
Yeah, so my recommendation is to look up Dr. David Steiner at Education Policy Institute and Dr. Mark Stein at BERC, Baltimore Education Research Consortium. And I guess that there might be some faculty doing school choice work in Center for Social Organization of Schools under School of Education.
Great, that's a good tip, thank you. Does the funding include housing? So you can obviously use your stipend toward housing, but there is no housing that is provided per se. You're on your own to figure that out. Although I guess a number of students end up rooming with each other and sort of navigating the cost of housing that way. Let's see, does the program offer opportunities for cross-cultural studies, international comparative education? Leni, maybe I'll toss that one to you as well.
Yeah, so we don't have faculty who has specific expertise in cross-cultural studies, but actually I do some cross-comparison study with my PhD students. So this is another case that your research interest might not be like 100% aligned with faculty's research, but there are still opportunities for you to develop research under different people's advising. So we do have PhD students doing this international comparison studies.
Great. Okay, a couple sort of admissions related questions coming up. So at what point are students paired with an advisor? My sort of recommendation would be to reach out to prospective advisors before you even apply and try to meet with them and get a little sense of sort of to what extent are they a good fit. And then to signal that on the application. And so typically part of the admissions process is ascertaining that fit and that match. Because we really, you know, it just doesn't make sense for either party to try and admit someone for whom there's not a good kind of faculty match in our program. And does experience count in getting admission? Yes, absolutely. You know, that's one of, like we said, it's a very holistic admission process. And so, you know, that counts a lot. We're very interested in sort of understanding what context people are coming from, what skills they picked up there, and what skills we might provide in the program. And again, thinking about the sort of the fit and the match there. Let's see, next one might be for the admissions folks. Have done a full-time master's degree from Rutgers. Will I need to sit for the TOEFL since I'm confident in my English speaking abilities, written and spoken?
Hi, Patrick. So the degree would have to be taken within the last 2 years. Please email SOE admission support to, again, to chat with us in regards to your question.
And then sort of following up on the previous thread, are there any recommendations around reaching out to faculty whose research area of interest aligns with our own? Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly the way to do it, is to, you know, do a pretty thorough searching on the website, figuring out the people who seem like good fits and seeing if you can grab half an hour with them to, you know, just kind of talk through and make sure what the website says is still up to date and give a sense of your research interests and kind of explore that fit and that match. So I think that's absolutely the way to do it. let's see, are there any limitations from the on the previous master's programs? As an international student, graduated from a US university, should I still take the TOEFL? So I think we touched on the TOEFL thing previously. In terms of limitations on master's degrees, I mean, we talked about an accredited institution. I'm not totally sure what other limitations you might have in mind. Admissions folks, any thoughts on this one?
Yes, I would just mention that international students do have to have any international degrees evaluated by Credential Evaluation Service. That is under the information on the services that we recommend would be on our admissions page on the website. If you do have any questions about that, certainly feel free to email me at soe-admissionsupport@jhu.edu. And I'd be happy to elaborate further, but definitely you will need to also consider the time in which it takes to have your international credentials evaluated.
Great, thanks so much. Oh, here's a good question. So sort of once I'm in the program and carrying out my research, does it need to be on the sort of local American educational context, or could the research be, you know, some other part of the world, some other part of the country? And the answer is it's totally fine to have any context that's meaningful and important to you. That's not restricted in any way. Let's see, a couple other questions about sort of whether the TOEFL is compulsory. I think we've kind of covered that, and whether we're waiving GRE fees, which I think we've also covered. Can I predict the future and imagine how the pandemic will impact the admissions cycle? Man, would I love to be able to predict the future. Yeah, it's very hard to say. We have experienced, you know, sort of normal to high interest in our programs for summer and fall application cycles. The PhD is naturally like pretty different. So I could imagine it being a big year to come try and get a PhD, but honestly, I'm afraid your guess is probably as good as mine. Do the admissions folks have any good insight that I don't?
I mean, so far right now, application is open. It's open and we're accepting applications, and yeah, I mean, this is a tough one, you know, for now, we're just kind of cruising.
Great. So I think we've talked about reaching out and contacting professors. I don't know that there's any particular timeline with doing so. Typically, you know, kind of sooner is better than later, in case it takes them a little bit to get back to you, and then to set up a conversation. Let's see, in terms of recommendation letters, is it okay if we submit more than 3? Thoughts on that, admission folks?
Typically, I know we do advise the maximum is 3. I don't know if on your side, Hunter, if there's any suggestion if more than that will be accepted and reviewed at the time that the faculty review committee gets the information. We're happy to accept more if those will be looked at.
Yeah, I would probably recommend against it. I don't. If there's so much greatness about your application that it couldn't possibly be contained in 3 recommendation letters, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape anyway. And you know, I worry that some of the faculty on the admissions committee might think that you're basically not following directions and don't want you to get dinged for that. So I'd probably just stick with the 3 that's kind of the stated requirement, would be my instinct. Is there on-campus housing options for grad students? Juan and Zaira, do you want to talk about sort of where you see your peers figuring out housing, maybe a little bit more generally, like cover that question, but then I imagine that type of thing is probably on people's minds.
Yeah, so there is no on-campus housing for grad students. However, a lot of grad students live in the Charles Village area, which is the neighborhood surrounding Hopkins. And then there are also a lot of students who live further. Like I personally live further away because I've been in Baltimore for a while. We have a number that actually commute from DC. So there's a range, like there's a range of where people stay, but to people who typically come from out of state and haven't been in the area for a while will live in like Charles Village or Hamden areas that are very proximal to the university.
Yeah, I think that's right. There are some students who have already been in the area, like Zaira mentioned, such as myself, who've already had an established living situation. So for us, that wasn't a factor that we had to look into.
Great, thanks. Oh, good. This is the questions you were asking are being answered already. So the GRE has a take-home test available. So the requirement for the GRE is likely to stand. I suppose anything's possible, but I can't imagine the PhD faculty would want to get rid of it if it's still feasible to take that at home. So I think folks should probably bank on that. And average scores for past years are 87th percentile for quant and 85th percentile for verbal. And, you know, just bear in mind that's an average. And so that means that, you know, again, with the holistic application, there are going to be lots of ways to sort of compensate for scores that are lower than that. So I wouldn't be overly daunted by those numbers. How many PhD students do faculty typically mentor or advise during any given year? Leni, what's your sense of that? There's certainly a real range here.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, we have wide range. Like I currently have 4 students, but 1 student is graduating next year. So like each year, probably 1, I would say, but there are faculty having more too.
And I guess maybe the other way to think about it is some faculty are more centrally involved with the PhD program than others. And so those who are maybe a little more peripherally involved might go 2 years with no advisees and then have an advisee. So anyway, so it's probably best to sort of check in with a specific prospective advisor on that. Is there a way to know if certain faculty are taking on new PhD students? So sometimes people will post that somewhere on their website, but you know, in a lot of ways, that's a great excuse to sort of reach out and contact and try to connect and see if they are taking people and how well your research interests align. So I think that's a perfectly reasonable reason to connect with faculty.
And Hunter, can I just add one more thing?
Of course.
So if you go to the PhD program site under School of Education website, there is a list of core faculty for the PhD program. So those core faculty members are primarily faculty who are accepting students. So I recommend you to go to the website and look at the bio of those faculty members.
Great. I am worried that we are just about out of time here. Admissions folks were there. I haven't read through the remainder of the questions. Are there any other sort of burning questions we should make sure to touch on as sort of the last one?
There was something I did notice, sorry, Sion, there was something I did notice that someone asked if there was any consideration if applications were submitted early and completed early. And is, you know, so by the December deadline is when everything has to be in, and then admissions decisions are delivered altogether, usually within a 6-week time frame after the application closes.
Great. Well, thank you so much to everyone, to Leni and Juan and Zaira, and to Tanya and Seon. Really hope that this provides a sort of good overview of everything and that you've got at least most of your questions answered. Of course, the admissions folks are available if you have further follow-up questions, and I think you have my contact information now. So, you know, really appreciate your considering Hopkins, and hope you have a great rest of your afternoons. And admissions folks, do you want any final words from your end?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Gelbach and Dr. John, and of course, Aaron, Juan. It was a great presentation. Thank you for your time. I know that we had some questions that were not answered, so please feel free to contact us at soe-admissionsupport@jhu.edu. Be more than happy to have a conversation with you about the PhD program. But thank you so much for joining today. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you, everyone.